This is part 2 of the winter bird scene artwork. So in the first part, we created our aspen tree background. So we were using a piece of dark construction paper or a paper bag or something like that. We used a white piece of paper to do our line work. We cut those things out with scissors and we glued them down. And we made it so that the tops of the trees and the bottom of the trees meet the top and the bottom and top edges of our paper. Now today is part 2, so we're gonna use this at the end of today. So you should have that completed. In the meantime, today you need to be working with our interesting pieces of either junk mail or magazine, or if you want to just make some interesting colors on a white piece of paper and cut those out, that's fine too. But we're going to be using these to create our birds for our collage. Now, the birds that we're going to use, I suggest getting a black marker out to draw on your magazine so you can see what you're going to cut out. But birds can be all kinds of different shapes. So you can start with a teardrop shape, kind of like this. So rounded on one end, pointed on the other. And then another teardrop shape up here for the bird's head with the eye and the beak, something like that. And you can round those together to make them look more like a body if you want. Birds, you can cut out these pieces all separate. You can cut out the head separate from the body, separate from the tail, and put them all together. But what you're going to do is you're going to find interesting magazine areas. So something colorful. Doesn't have to be nature scene. You can see here it looks like this is a picture of ribbon or something in someone's closet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a place that has lots of color, and I'm going to choose that for my bird drawing. So I can just draw right on this magazine, and anything that you think looks like a bird shape is totally fine. This is your artwork, so I want you to think about what shape is your bird. Is it sitting? Does it have wings on top of the shape of its back? But you're gonna create an interesting drawing of a bird. And then you're gonna go through with scissors and you're gonna cut out your shape. Okay, so it's good to think about maybe doing this in pieces so that you can put them together with glue later, because it's gonna be hard for me to cut down into these really tiny areas here that I've created on my drawing. Okay, so again, when we're holding scissors, if you can fit all 4 of your fingers in the lower half and just your thumb in the upper part, open and close, chomp, chomp. That's great. You always hold the scissors so that the thumb is on top, and you're always holding your arm steady and moving your hand up and down and just moving your buddy hand to cut. Okay, so I'm never moving my scissor hand. I'm keeping that steady and doing chomp chomp, and I'm just using my buddy hand to move my paper to cut around my shapes. And it's really hard to get those shapes cut out, but sometimes what I do is I cut off the edge of the rest of the paper so I can come in there and cut out my other shapes. And if you can, move your paper around and cut around these shapes you've created, that's great. If you can't and it's too hard to go around, you just cut your shapes apart and then we'll glue them back together on your paper. Okay, so my scissors are staying in about the same place. It's my buddy hand that's moving my paper around. So make your birds whatever shape you want. If you want to do a different animal, totally fine. We're creating a collage, meaning that we're using different types of paper, gluing them together to make a scene. So you don't have to make a bird. You can do another animal if you want. But we're using these beautiful magazine cutouts to make some really interesting, colorful shapes. Okay, so I might choose a place to put my bird on my finished piece, and I'm just gonna cut, you know, 3 to 5 birds out of my interesting magazine colors, and I'm gonna paste them down with glue on our first part of our aspen trees, just like that. Okay, so you just kind of cut and then glue, and then cut another and glue, or you can draw all your birds out first, cut them all out, and then glue them all at the same time. Okay, just think about what is the easiest option for you. Okay, so this time I might try a simpler bird shape. I might do that teardrop. If you can draw the teardrop that comes to a point, cut that out. And then the circle for the head, and the triangle that comes off of that circle for the head, and then just a little eye. And you can draw on your bird if you want to take marker or crayon or even paint. And if you want to color in your bird more or add some more details to your bird, that's totally fine. Now remember, my buddy hand is doing the work of moving the paper as much as possible. Okay, and see how I just cut off the rest of that paper because it got too hard for my other buddy hand to control moving that paper. And see how I'm carefully holding the paper in my buddy hand, and I am cutting pretty steadily in the same place with my scissors. Okay, and I'm gently squeezing the scissors together, chomp chomp, as I move the paper around with my buddy hand. One more time, I'm not moving my scissors like this. I'm moving my buddy hand to move the paper so the scissors can stay in the same place. Okay, so cutting carefully, and it's really, really good practice to cut, okay? And learning coaches at home, make sure that you are letting your learner do this on their own, because it's really important to develop those strong hand muscles. And it's really hard to learn how to cut accurately, but we need to get that practice. If your bird ends up a different shape than you drew, totally fine. If it ends up just an abstract, interesting thing on your paper, totally fine as well. Okay, today we're practicing that collage, so putting together multiple art materials and practicing our cutting. Very important skills, okay, for this age group. So I'm going to continue to find interesting places. And I mean, look at this. This is just a picture of some food, but if I cut out a little area over here, you're not going to know it's food. It's just the colors and the interesting way that it's configured on the page. And I could even use this page. Look at all these interesting things happening. So look for colorful items in your magazine pages or your junk mail, or even, you know, a flyer for the grocery store, something like that, and just cut out several interesting areas of color with a bird shape of some kind. Or, like I said, you can do another animal if you would like. Draw it out first with a marker or a pencil, cutting it out with your cutting hand and your buddy hand moving the paper. When this artwork is finished, you should have 3 to 5 birds in your aspen tree. And when this is complete, you will have a nice collage. If you happen to have a white crayon or white paint at home, you could put dots of snow falling in the background on your dark paper. Good luck, great job, and keep on practicing.